How did one astronaut's final solo flight push NASA's limits, and why did he rely on a wristwatch to time his re-entry? Faith 7 wasn't just the last Mercury mission, it was a high-stakes experiment in endurance, trust, and innovation. As Gordon Cooper orbited Earth for over a day, electrical malfunctions threatened to unravel everything. With systems failing and Houston watching anxiously, Cooper took control, manually guiding his capsule through space with precision and nerve. But one lingering mystery remains: what would have happened if his calculations were just seconds off? This video reveals the drama behind Faith 7's daring descent and lasting legacy. Faith 7 was the final mission of NASA's Mercury program, and it pushed the boundaries of early spaceflight. Piloted by Gordon Cooper on May 15 to 16, 1963, the spacecraft orbited Earth for over 34 hours, more than all previous Mercury flights combined. Designed to test human endurance and spacecraft reliability, Faith 7 carried a suite of scientific instruments and life support systems. But as onboard systems began to fail, Cooper demonstrated incredible skill, taking manual control to ensure a precise splashdown. Faith 7 proved that astronauts could survive and operate independently in space, paving the way for Gemini and Apollo. It was NASA's bold leap from basic orbit to true exploration. The Atlas launch vehicle played a pivotal role in America's early space missions, including launching all Mercury orbital flights. Originally designed as an intercontinental ballistic missile, Atlas was repurposed for space exploration thanks to its powerful engine and unique stage-and-a-half design, where booster engines dropped off mid-flight while the main engine continued. Standing about 94 feet tall, Atlas could propel a spacecraft into low Earth orbit with a thrust of over 350,000 pounds. For Faith 7, Atlas flawlessly delivered Gordon Cooper into orbit, demonstrating both engineering finesse and reliability. This rocket wasn't just hardware, it was the fiery backbone of a daring new era. Gordon Cooper Jr. was a trailblazer of human spaceflight, a fearless test pilot turned astronaut who embodied the spirit of the Mercury program. Born in 1927, Cooper joined NASA's first group of astronauts in 1959. He quickly gained a reputation for technical precision and cool-headedness under pressure. His moment came on May 15, 1963, aboard Faith 7, the final Mercury mission, where he orbited Earth 22 times over 34 hours, setting a duration record and proving astronauts could endure extended space travel. But what makes Cooper's flight legendary isn't just time in orbit, it's how he manually guided the spacecraft to a flawless re-entry when automatic systems failed. With only a wristwatch, pen, and his own calculations, he showed the world that human skill could outmatch mechanical uncertainty. Cooper's calm courage and engineering mind helped bridge the gap between Mercury and the ambitious missions to come. Long after landing, he remained a vocal advocate for innovation, space exploration, and personal freedom, eventually retiring as a colonel in the Air Force. Gordon Cooper wasn't just flying a capsule, he was charting the outer edge of human capability.
Stand by for status, Airmed. Go. ECS, go. Sequence, go. Electrical, go. ASCS, go. RCS, go. Com, go. TM, go. CO, go. Flight, go. Tony, I'm go. CO, I have your ready light. Roger. Airmed verify. Ready light. Airmed, booster interlock to go. Go.
Instrumentation, communications, the spacecraft's automatic stabilization and control system, ASCS, environmental control systems, all were go.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Roger, have a liftoff and the clock is operating.
Roger clock.
Sigma 7, Faith 7 on the way. Standing by to start the backup clock.
Roger. 3, 2, 1, mark.
Roger, and the backup clock is running.
Roger, you look good here, Dodo.
Roger, feels good, buddy.
Great sport.
30 seconds and fuel is go. Oxygen is go. Cabin pressure on the top peg altimeter is working.
Hey, Roger, you're looking beautiful.
What an afterburner.
That's the beauty of your clock doing thing. pitch 50.
As the spacecraft reached maximum dynamic pressure, all systems were go. As it rises, the vehicle is acquired and tracked by radar. Its automatic control is switched to the ground station. In the outer atmosphere, the vehicle is tilted toward the horizontal course. The escape tower remains in position to pull the spacecraft away from the launch vehicle in an emergency. At about 2 minutes 15 seconds of flight, BECO, or booster engine cutoff, will occur.
Sun is coming in the window now.
Roger, we're standing by for your BECO.
Roger. Roger, BECO.
The sustainer engine drives Faith 7 toward orbital speed and altitude. When the spacecraft can escape with its own posigrade rockets, the tower is jettisoned.
And there goes the tower, and does she take off?
At 100 miles up and a speed of 17,544 miles per hour, SECO, sustainer engine cutoff, occurs as Faith 7 is inserted into orbit. 1 second later, it separates from the launch vehicle.
Accept Camp Green, SECO, I'm on off stamp. Going fly-by-wire. Everything is green here.
Faith 7 was inserted into orbit exactly in the center of its programmed envelope. Using fly-by-wire control, astronaut Cooper then turned the spacecraft so that it traveled with the retro rockets and the heat shield facing forward. This way, the retro rockets could be fired to reduce speed and end orbital flight if necessary. The small jets of hydrogen peroxide, which change the spacecraft's attitude, have no major effect on the path or velocity of the orbital flight. At 14 minutes 53 seconds, contact was made with the Canary Islands tracking station.
Phase 7, this is Canary Capcom.
Roger, Canary Capcom, Phase 7, reading you loud and clear. What temperatures would you like, over?
Phase 7, this is Zanzibar Capcom. How do you read?
Roger, Zanzibar, reading you loud and clear, Phase 7 here.
An added advantage of having a man performing in the spaceflight environment was indicated by astronaut Cooper's ability to keep a detailed record of his flight on the onboard tape recorder. For example, approaching his first night.
First night side, and I have a bright blue band, a thick diffused band of blue color, a bright blue band. The sun spread out very widely. Is setting now. And there it goes.
Phase 7, Perth has their lights on tonight. You might look for them.
Roger, I have the lights of Perth in sight, loud and clear.
From the perigee or low point of 100 miles over Bermuda to the apogee or high point of 166 miles over Australia, the first orbit was nearly perfect. Capcom at Guaymas, Mexico, gave astronaut Cooper his go for 7 orbits.
Gordon, we're giving a go for 7 orbits.
Roger. For 30, how many?
As many as you want.
Roger.
If all was well, in the 7th orbit, he would get a go for 17, then for the full 22. Meantime, he began the special experiments. The first was the use of this slow-scan television camera to relay pictures to the ground at the rate of 1 picture every 2 seconds.
We have news that the picture from the television camera, the little 10-pound job aboard Faith 7, looks fairly good here at Cape Canaveral. They're taking a further look at it in Mercury control, and we expect them to release it to us very shortly so we, the public, can get a look at what Gordo Cooper looks like in his capsule, we presume, and also perhaps he will have pointed it out the window. We don't know yet.
15 minutes before sunset on the 3rd orbit, Major Cooper prepared to eject this sphere or beacon for another experiment. to find out how well man can see flashing lights in space to help with rendezvous and docking maneuvers in future space programs.
And I am on fly-by-wire. I've armed the squib. Pitching up very, very slowly. And we'll deploy the flashing light minus 20 degree point. Flashing light is deployed.
Once ejected, the beacon assumed its own orbit, which kept it at varying distances from the spacecraft. Major Cooper was unable to find it on the third orbit. However, on the next orbit, he saw the light clearly.
Quite bright, quite discernible. The order of a second magnitude star now.
Beyond 10 or 12 miles, the flashing beacon became less discernible. In the fourth orbit also, the first of a series of tests were begun to measure radiation in space, where a belt of fission electrons trapped in the lower regions of the Earth's magnetic field would be penetrated by Faith 7 on orbits passing over eastern South America and the South Atlantic Ocean. Primarily, the measurements were made by two Geiger counters located on the retropack. One of the Geiger counters surveyed a hemisphere-shaped area unobstructed by the spacecraft and unaffected by radiation scattered by its structure. The other registered radiation directly in the path of travel. Trapped electrons spiraling along the Earth's magnetic flux lines were primarily the source of radiation. Several devices were provided to measure radiation piercing to the interior of the spacecraft. A pocket ion chamber, or dosimeter, a film patch attached to the hatch of the spacecraft, a photographic emulsion pack carried on the instrument panel, and 4 film patches worn beneath the astronaut's pressure suit, one in his helmet, the other 3 on his body. The packages contained 2 kinds of film, one sensitive to protons, one sensitive only to electrons. Both the nature and the amount of exterior and interior radiation at the Mercury orbit altitude were ascertained during the flight and found to be well below the level harmful to man. Astronaut Cooper was able to drink water successfully in his weightless condition, but he had some difficulty in transferring the water needed to make some of his packaged food edible. Experimental foods were freeze-dried and dehydrated so that adding water would restore their taste and consistency. Other foods were packaged in bite-sized bits. Small sandwiches, brownies, and other dessert-type foods were easily eaten. Other experiments were highly successful. For example, on the 6th orbit, astronaut Cooper clearly saw a 3 million candle power light shining up from Bomfontein, Africa. Such a light may be used to guide future moon explorers on their return to Earth. He carried out several experimental photographic assignments, such as taking pictures of the Earth's horizon or limb, which may also serve as a navigation fix in longer space flights. Another photographic research project involved use of a 35mm camera to shoot 2 dim light phenomena best observed beyond the Earth's atmosphere. One is called zodiacal light, believed to be a weak reflection of sunlight from free electrons and dust particles. The other dim light phenomenon he photographed was the Earth's night airglow layer, a weak 3-colored band of light around the Earth. Time exposures with a 35mm camera will yield data on the height and intensity of these layers and on solar energy conversion processed in the upper atmosphere. Infrared photography of the Earth on black and white film was also performed for the Weather Bureau to obtain data for the design of improved television cameras in future weather satellites. From time to time, the astronaut also shot color pictures of scenes selected at random. This picture was taken of the Atlas Mountains of Africa. Now, this is a view of the Himalayas. The Philippine Islands. Major Cooper also proved that deep, normal sleep is possible in a weightless condition, beginning his rest period on the 9th orbit. With occasional interruptions for short reports onto his tape recorder, he slept well for several hours. In addition to the telemetered medical data, awake and asleep, on his heart rate, temperature, respiration, and blood pressure, his voice pitch was monitored to determine his psychological condition. The flight proceeded with textbook perfection. Even after the cabin cooling system was turned off and using only the suit cooling system, cabin temperature stabilized at 96 degrees and suit inlet temperature at 59 degrees Fahrenheit. Far less oxygen and attitude control system fuel were used than had been anticipated.
This is a new and strange environment at first, this suddenly finding yourself in orbit, and want to take a few seconds time to think about this and see just what you're doing up here. It takes you a few minutes to really settle down. The added distraction is that there is the Earth in view out of the window. It is a tremendous distraction. You want to glue your eyes on the window and watch every little detail of everything that's going on there. But the many hours of training in the simulators that we have seem to take over, and you get right back on the flight plan and follow them pretty closely there and do the functions that you have planned on doing at the proper time.
During the 15th night, during his 22nd hour in space, astronaut Cooper recorded a personal prayer, portions of which follow.
I would like to take this time to say a little prayer for all the people. Thank you for the privilege of being able to be in this position, be up in this wondrous place, doing all these very startling, wondrous things that you've created. Be with all our families, let them know that everything will be okay. We ask it in thy name. Amen.
The textbook flight continued. All systems go, all perfect. On his 16th orbit, astronaut Cooper sent greetings to the summit meeting of African statesmen.
Hello, Africa. This is astronaut Gordon Cooper speaking from Faith 7. I am right now over 100 miles above Africa, speaking to the Zanzibar station. Just a few minutes ago, I passed Addis Ababa. I want to wish success to your leaders there. Good luck to all of you in Africa.
All clear, all systems perfect. Orbits 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 times around the Earth. Orbit 19 began at the 20th minute of the 28th hour. Faith 7 and astronaut Cooper were out of voice contact from Bermuda around more than half the world to Hawaii.
Hawaii Capcom, Faith 7.
Go ahead, 7. This is Hawaii, region 11.
Oh, Roger. I wonder if you'd relay to the Cape a little situation I had happen, see what they think on it. While turning my warning lights off and back on to dim, my 05G telelight came on in my telelight panel.
The .05 gravity light normally comes on after retro rockets have been fired and the spacecraft has begun to fall toward the Earth. It indicates deceleration on encountering the atmosphere. But Faith 7 was maintaining its orbital path and velocity. Therefore, the question was whether the .05 gravity switch alone had been triggered by a short circuit, or whether the entire automatic control system had skipped the programmed retro rocket and re-entry phase. Astronaut Cooper's message was immediately relayed from Hawaii to Mercury Control Center. By the time he passed over Cape Canaveral, beginning his 20th orbit, NASA and contractor engineers had broken down complete schematic diagrams of the spacecraft and were ready to spell out certain tests for the astronaut to make to determine the seriousness of the unscheduled light. By testing the automatic stabilization and control system's ability to acquire attitudes, astronaut Cooper determined that his ASCS system was not operating. He performed more tests and exchanged information directly with tracking stations and by relay with Mercury Control at Cape Canaveral. A machine seldom makes a mistake, but a machine fails. A man must not fail. Between the man and the spacecraft and the men on the ground, it was determined that astronaut Cooper would have to fire his retro rockets and control re-entry by hand. His autopilot had failed. Without a man to bring the ship down safely, the spacecraft and the mission's most valuable data would have been lost. The task was difficult, but the man was trained. On his final orbit, astronaut Cooper completed final checklists for retrofire and re-entry. At the 30th second of the 56th minute of the 33rd hour of flight, astronaut Cooper contacted John Glenn on the coastal Century, Quebec, near Japan.
I'm looking for lots of experience on this flight. You're going to get it.
10 seconds before the 34th hour of flight, to assist astronaut Cooper in the critical timing, John Glenn began the final countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, squib arm, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire. Roger, a green one here.
Roger, I think I got all three.
Roger, how's your attitude hold, Gordo?
Well, pretty fair.
Good show, boys, real fine. They look like they came off right on the money on time.
Roger, I think so.
Major Cooper fired the retro rockets and, using the window for attitude reference, manually controlled the spacecraft during re-entry.
Astronaut Cooper had fired the retro rockets on the second. He jettisoned his retro pack. As the tremendous speed of the spacecraft re-entering the atmosphere built up a temperature of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, the ionized air cut off radio contact for a short time. Now it was a matter of waiting, hoping for contact to be reestablished, hoping for accuracy, hoping the chutes would open and hold. Faith 7 was picked up by radar 184 miles out and falling fast. Shortly thereafter, the main parachute was sighted. And so it ended. 34 hours, 20 minutes, 31 seconds. The flight of a man in space 22 times around the Earth, 540,000 miles, farther than to the moon and back, ended within seconds of its programmed time and within 4.5 miles of the carrier Kearsarge.
All right, I'd like to come aboard the carrier if they'll grant me permission for an Air Force troop.
Major Cooper elected to wait in his spacecraft for retrieval by the nearby USS Kearsarge.
After more than 34 hours in orbit, Faith 7 returned to Earth and was recovered successfully. The spacecraft landed within 8,700 yards of the prime recovery vessel. The flight of Faith 7 was over. A great deal of data was still to be gathered, but from the immediate medical checkout of the astronaut before he emerged from the spacecraft to preliminary post-flight analyses, the flight seemed to have proved man's capability of efficient functioning in a period of prolonged weightlessness in space.
The band on board strikes up the Air Force song as Major Cooper emerges wearily from Faith 7 and responds with a grin and a salute.
Each flight, each man had observations to make that we could never have forecast, or he saw things that no one knew for sure that he would be able to see or wouldn't be able to see, or things that were completely unexpected. And these have contributed tremendously to the advancement of manned space flight. In fact, to the advancement of science as a whole. We feel, as a pilot group, that pilots are an integral part of space flight. I think that Mercury has shown that man is adaptable to this new and strange environment, and he can contribute immeasurably to the reliability and completion of space flights. The pilot has successfully completed 3 out of 4 orbital flights that an automatic system would not have. We have had 100% success on our manned flights. I think that we can hold Mercury up and say that it has been a real good example of a program that has run surprisingly close to its schedule.
Faith 7 wasn't just the Mercury program's final flight, it was a bold test of human endurance, spacecraft capability, and mission autonomy. Launched on May 15, 1963, its goal was to prove that an astronaut could operate independently for over a day in orbit, paving the way for long-duration missions like Gemini and Apollo. Gordon Cooper's 34-hour flight set a U.S. space endurance record and confirmed that life support systems could sustain human presence beyond brief excursions. The mission carried scientific experiments, including camera work and Earth observations, but its true challenge emerged mid-flight. Electrical system failures began to cascade. Automated functions failed, including orientation and re-entry programming, forcing Cooper to rely on manual control. With only a wristwatch, pen, and instinct honed from test piloting, he calculated and executed a perfect re-entry burn, landing within 4 miles of the target. Faith 7 proved that man and machine could work together, and that the man could still triumph if the machine faltered. It wasn't just a mission success, it was a testament to grit, improvisation, and NASA's growing ambition. Faith 7 marked the end of an era, but it lit the fuse for everything that followed. Gordon Cooper's solo voyage wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a human triumph in the face of system failure and uncertainty. With his calm precision and daring improvisation, he proved astronauts weren't just passengers, they were pilots, engineers, and pioneers. Faith 7 validated long-duration flight, manual spacecraft operation, and NASA's evolving vision. The Mercury program had completed its mission and pointed toward Gemini, Apollo, and beyond. Cooper didn't just come home, he handed off spaceflight to the future.